It's the BWI Daily Recruiting Show, the last one for May, if I can get that out. I'm Greg Pickel. Ryan Snyder from BWI Illustrated joins us as he does on every edition of the BWI Daily Recruiting Podcast. Ryan, a busy month of May is about to send us into a even busier month of June. There's a lot going on. We have a lot to cover on this week's show. I hope everyone had a safe Memorial Day weekend. Thanks to those who are or have served. And here we go on a Tuesday episode after a holiday weekend. So let's dive right into it. We're going to start with a big weekend for a Penn State commit on the track, and rather in the field part of track and field. But Jven Williams, the massive offensive lineman from Wyoming, Reading, Pennsylvania, ended up winning not just one, but two state championships at the track and field event this weekend. Ryan, you had a chance to talk to him. What do people need to know? It's pretty exciting. He obviously had a big season and caps it off in impressive fashion.
Well, first off, Greg was at a bachelor party, everyone, this weekend. So, let's be easy on Greg today. You know, he's just getting back into the swing of things. And so
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
We all had fun Memorial Day. T. Frank even got away. T. Frank never gets away. So I think we all had a good weekend. But yeah, I think Jven Williams had a better weekend than all of us, right? Winning two state championships in the discus and the shot put. His shot put throw was absolutely incredible. I mean, it smashed Joe Kovac's record. I believe the previous was 64, 10, 7, 5, and Jven threw a 66, 7.75. Of course, Joe Kovacs is a silver medalist for the United States, and I think 2 Olympics. I think it was this past one, and then the one before that, I believe, was silver as well. So that's great to see. And then, of course, Jven also won the discus with a 167 even throw. And Will Patton, let's give a shout out to Will Patton finishing second there in the discus. Of course, Will is from Chinagua. I have no idea how to pronounce that.
That's close enough.
But he's gonna walk on and be a long snapper. But shout out to Will, man. Jven will get a lot of attention there, but Will had an excellent showing as well. But yeah, I mean, this has been Jven's goal really since last year, when he won districts and came up a little bit short in state. I mean, when he committed, I remember talking to him about how okay, I have my recruitment behind me now, all my focus is on trying to win a state championship in discus and shot put, and now he wins both. So great for him. I think it speaks largely to garage strength. Again, we've talked about garage strength a ton with Nick Singleton, of course, up there in Reading. Of course, Dane Miller, I think he trains a lot of Olympic throwers as well. I mean, I know, Jven was telling me that he trains with 1 or 2 of those guys. So it's constantly producing top athletes for Pennsylvania out of the Reading area. And 2 of them are looking to be in pretty good shape here for Penn State.
So Williams obviously will now go back to focusing on football. Do you think there's a chance, Ryan, he tries to do both at Penn State, or is he just going to be a football player once he gets to State College, this next year?
I'm sure Penn State track and field would love to have him. I just don't know if it's realistic when you look at right. But is it just realistic when you look at spring? I mean, I always go back to Mac Hippenhammer, and I remember following his baseball, and I mean, pretty much it was always, you can't miss spring. James will have you there during spring, and then if you want to add to it after that, he's okay with it. But I mean, just when you look at that schedule, and then you also consider, he's going to be a freshman coming up here for the first time. He's got to get adjusted to normal college life. I mean, to me, right now, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he says, yeah, it's something I want to do and all that. But when push comes to shove, man, it's an incredibly hard schedule to do 2 sports in the spring with 15 practices, blue-white game, all that kind of stuff. It's not easy. So I bet Penn State would love to have him as far as the track and field program, but it would surprise me, definitely would surprise me if he did extended multiple years of that. Right now, I don't know if that's realistic.
Yeah, I think that it sounds great in theory, and I remember when Hippenhammer did it and everyone got along and it would sound like it was going to be perfect. And I mean, I think you could easily make the argument that it's really hard to be good at a college sport to play the Division I level in one of them, let alone the dedication needed for 2 of them. So we'll see with Williams, but yeah, you just don't see many examples anymore, really at all, of guys doing that. So we'll see. But Williams, obviously a great weekend for him, and a good weekend, Ryan, for some Penn State players on the football field. The Big 33 Classic was held. What is this? A 60-something year, I believe, of the Big 33 Classic. Yeah,
you're asking the wrong guy, buddy.
Right. So
I don't know.
Right. So I believe, Ken Talley was kind of the player of the game for Penn State in terms of guys that are going to be future Lions. He had 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hurries in Pennsylvania's win over Maryland. But Ryan, the story, I think from your perspective, is the fact that Penn State had, I believe 4 guys playing for Team
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, and then also walk-on Jim Fitzgerald played for the Maryland side. And we've seen, I believe you wrote this on the Lions Pride message board over at Blue White Illustrated, but we've seen a number of years now where they have Penn State players committed to this game, and then they never end up playing in it. And that was
Yeah.
very much not the case this time around.
Well, they had 6 total too because Drew Shelton and Abdul Carter dropped out. So it
Right.
was originally 6 scholarship guys for Pennsylvania, and then of course Fitzgerald for Maryland,
Yep.
and then 4 of them ended up playing. So I mean that's a great sign for the health of the Big 33. Now, I think Big 33 needs that to happen more consistently for the game moving forward. Because look, Maryland sending guys that, a lot of Division II, a lot of FCS guys, props to Maryland for keeping the game going. But this game hasn't taken off in Maryland, like it
Right.
has. And, of course, Pennsylvania just has a history with it. But until Maryland sending, some of their elite athletes up here, I think one thing that will be incredibly important for the health of the Big 33 game is Penn State players and Pitt players, I'll say too, Penn State
Right.
and Pitt players playing in that game. Scholarship guys that are, truly going to make a difference at that next level. Because that hasn't really been the case here in recent years. There's been I wish I had all the notes in front of me. I don't, but I mean, there was I would say probably 6, 7, 8 guys in the last handful of years who were all committed to playing that game. And then maybe, 2 of them did. And I'm talking about scholarship
Right.
guys, not walk-on guys, not specialists, true scholarship guys.
Yeah.
It's just, it hasn't been good. So this is a good showing for the Big 33. I'm happy for the Big 33. And
Yep.
I think we all would like see that game take another step in the right direction. But just as long as that game is on the calendar where it is, I feel like it's going to be really hard for it to ever go back to what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just so much has changed. And remember, I mean, that was always a game that, I mean, before early enrollment became a thing and before May enrollment became a thing, I mean, that was always something obviously a lot of scholarship caliber guys played in. And now it just, number one, there's the risk of injury. Obviously, guys are getting ready to show up to campus and they get worried that they could get hurt before their first workout at school. But then the other thing is that you have a lot of guys who would maybe want to play in that game that are already enrolled at the school of their choice. So we'll see. But you're right. It was good for the Big 33. It was good for those guys. And I mean, they're coming soon, them and all the rest of the class of 2022 signees. So it looks like everyone ended their high school career, Ryan, on a healthy note and had a few notable performances as well. And what it'll be about 2 weeks before we're talking about these guys is Penn State enrollees.
For the most part, yeah. I believe all of them should be here. I believe in 2 weeks. For that first semester, I'm not sure why. I mean, a few of them are coming this upcoming week because they graduate early enough, or they can come up and mandatory workouts start on June 5th, I believe it is. So once that takes place and you're already signed, you're allowed to come up and join the staff and participate in those workouts. So I believe everybody will be here in 2 weeks. Now there might be somebody for some reason who, I don't know if there's an academic issue or something like that, but right now I'm unaware of that.
Okay, so they'll be here soon, and we will talk about that group then. This is the BWI Daily Recruiting Show. You just heard from Ryan Snyder. I'm Greg Pickel. Ryan, let's move on to our next topic here on the show, and it's a linebacker that you wrote about recently who is going to take a visit to Penn State. Officially, all those guys are starting to line up their trips if they haven't already, and you confirmed one last week that is a pretty important position and player for Penn State.
Yeah, Corey Lucius, we talked about him in the last show. I was, kind of noting him as somebody who I think fans need to keep an eye on. But, we just, for one reason or another, right, we were just kind of struggling to get in touch with Corey.
Right.
And, now we've been able to do that. We knew he was set for a Penn State visit June 10th to the 12th. And I knew at the time that Boston College was going to be one of the trips that he had set, the date or whatever. I wasn't sure about. What we have since confirmed is that Boston College visit is set for June 24th to 26th, with Kansas being June 17th to the 19th. So, look, Manny Diaz is incredibly high on Corey. He was the first coach to offer him while I was at Miami. Penn State was the second school to offer him before, of course, Diaz got here. And, now
Right.
with, the previous staff liking him a lot and Diaz liking him a lot, I think there's a real reason to focus on him. But of course, we got to see what happens with Tony Rojas. You got to see what happens with Tamir Robinson. I think those two recruitments will be massive. Kavion Keys is talking about coming up for an official visit now. Keys is a
Yep.
very good player out of Virginia. I mean, watch his film. It's some of the most impressive out there. But where he sits on the board, or maybe more so, the question is, what's his interest in Penn State? That's where we've always kind of struggled. Keys was supposed to visit multiple times and hasn't been able to. So let's see if he's able to actually make it for this official visit. I reported on it last week. I've already heard mixed dates, and he could change things around. So who knows? But I am expecting Keys to, or at least Penn State to try and get Keys here at some point. But those four really kind of feel like the guys to focus on. And then D. Creighton as well. I don't want to leave D. Creighton out. He's a true Mike. The other four, definitely kind of more outside linebackers. So it definitely feels like, they're looking for guys that can truly run in space. But Manny and the staff seems to really like D. Creighton as well, and he'll be in for an official visit. But this Lucius guy, man, getting to know him, getting to know how interested Penn State has been. For the longest time, I thought two linebackers, and that should be it. But when I learn more about their interest in Lucius, and if he's serious about Penn State, which I think he is, I mean, Kansas and Boston College are the other two schools, right? I mean, this should be Penn State's to lose.
You would think so.
Man,
yeah.
And not only that, he's probably going to possibly commit before Rojas and Robinson too. I mean, he hasn't really said that, but if he wants to be a Nittany Lion, there's a good chance he may have to do that. So there's a lot of factors there, but I think he's seriously someone that could end up in this class, put it that way.
Did you get, once you were able to finally get him on the phone, did you get more of a sense that Penn State is a school that he has as much interest in as they do, and vice versa? I mean, what was the vibe you got from him when you finally got to talk to him?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's Penn Sstate, right? I mean, and then no disrespect to the other schools offering him. I mean, they've been very consistent on him. And not only that, his mom was telling me about how the staff has done a great job on things outside of just football as well. So, mom's definitely on Penn State's side. I called to interview Corey, and mom kind of just took over the interview at one point, which I like. I like when parents want to stay involved with their kids' interviews, because they want to know what's being put out there. And in the NIL world, that's incredibly important. So mom certainly seems like she's on that side. Corey seems like he is very interested as well. And, let's see how this visit goes. That's always, of course, incredibly massive. But to me, he's Penn State's to lose. It's just kind of how the cards fall with Rojas, Robinson, Creighton, and maybe Kavion Keys.
It's one of the many official visits you've confirmed so far, Ryan. You just posted about another one at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. You can get On3 Plus access and insider info from Ryan and the rest of the team at Blue White Illustrated by subscribing for just $1 for 1 year of access. As we always say, folks, that deal's not going to last forever, so check us out. It's right on the homepage. You can't miss it, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. We'd be looking forward to hopefully having some more of you join us. All right, Ryan, let's get into our last topic of the day here. It is May 31, which means if you're listening to this on Tuesday, or if you're listening to this later in the week, either way, we are getting into official visit season with June arriving. The coaches are off the road starting tomorrow, but prospects can still come to campus. What are we looking at here for this first weekend of official visits?
Yeah, so definitely two confirmed right now, and Jason Moore and Damian Robinson. Of course, Damian Robinson is a transfer from Maryland, and he's certainly going to be here this weekend. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two get added to it. There's some movement back there, but Moore is certainly going to be the one that I think fans really need to focus on the most this weekend. Yeah. Look, I feel like Notre Dame's kind of emerging as the favorite there, and that's, I think, something that people have hinted about for a while now, but was kind of unclear. And I was kind of, hey, let's see how things shake out. He's got to visit more schools and all that. But the more I talk to people, the more I get the sense that, from a relationship perspective, Notre Dame seems to be on a different level. So this is their chance to really impress. And look, he's got 3 more visits after this: Notre Dame, Michigan, and Ohio State. So Penn State has to hit a home run this weekend with Jason Moore to set a high bar, for him to keep comparing it to as he takes these other visits. So it won't be easy. Right now, I like I said, I firmly lean towards Notre Dame, and man, even Larry Johnson's pushing now hard with Ohio State. I thought this would be a Notre Dame Penn State battle. Right now, I think Penn State's probably second at best, maybe third. Probably third, potentially.
Got it. So, I mean, obviously, we'll see how that works, but you're right. The key here is setting a high bar to compare the rest of these trips to, and that's going to have to be quite the bar with the way things are going. Notre Dame is a massive leader in the on-3 recruiting prediction machine, so time will tell. Ryan, as we look at the official visit calendar in June, and does it feel pretty set to you at this point? I mean, how many more guys do you believe that are out there that are either going to schedule official visits or maybe guys won't end up making it if there's any of that? How much fluctuation should we be expecting to see versus things being pretty static and good to go?
Yeah. Well, look, they can only do 62 this year. They can carry, the normal number's 56, right? And they didn't do all
Yep.
56 last year. They only did 48, so they can carry over 6 official visits. So 62 is the total number. I have about 42 confirmed right now. So it can't grow too much more. They have to carry
Right.
over. I think the absolute minimum you can carry over is 15 over to the season, and I think even then that might be an issue, especially in this NIL road, because they're going to miss out on some of these guys because of NIL. I keep hitting on that, and that's going to happen. So I think carrying over 20 or so is the goal, the plan. Now guys will drop off. I mean, look, Rodney Gallagher and Mason Robinson have already dropped off it, right?
Right.
And I'm sure here over the next week or two, others will drop off as well. There's definitely going to be a player or two who's planning to visit June 24th who just end up committing during one of their previous visits. It always happens. So because of that,
Right.
I could still see another couple players added for sure. But yeah, I mean, anything beyond 45, 46 confirmed visits would surprise me for the month of June.
Okay, so Penn State obviously will be hosting prospects throughout the month. And then I guess let me just finish up with this, Ryan. How much has it changed with the summer visit period in your mind compared to when you started doing this? You've been doing this a long time, and it used to be
So
that, and
old.
fans remember this, of course, that the whiteout game was the official visit weekend, or at least one of the biggest
Mhm.
ones of the season. And now you have so many guys using those trips in the summer instead of using them in the fall. I mean, has that been a good change for Penn State, a bad change for Penn State, or is it just kind of where we're at this point? What is your take on that?
Well, anyone who's come up here in the summer compared to come up here in January knows there's a bit of a difference there, right? So that's
Right,
especially if you're trying to bring guys from Florida, right? I mean, I don't think it's a
right,
coincidence that their Florida recruiting has gotten better since you've allowed summer official visits. But
right,
I mean, look, I think the summer's always been important because there was always unofficial visits, and those unofficial visits always led to commitments, and there was always
right,
camps and all that. So that was always there. I think the difference though is now it's equal to surge of mass commitments in July, and now
right.
July is maybe the most important month for commitments on the calendar to some degree,
Yeah,
aside from maybe December, some of the guys that last that long. So I think that's the biggest thing, man. It's just like everybody has gone from like, well, I want to do it I want to do it before my senior year. Maybe it'll drag into my season to like, hey, full plans. Let's get this done in late July at the latest, and try to completely focus on my senior season after that. And that's what official visits have done. And majority of these guys are using all five in the summer. So if you're using all five in the
right.
summer, what's the reason to really wait for the season? I don't see one.
Exactly. Yep. And we're going to see a lot of commitments just like we did last summer, this summer because of that. Ryan, any final thoughts as we get ready to wrap up this edition of the BWI Daily Recruiting Show at the end of May here?
Nicholas Harbor dropped his top seven. Didn't include Penn State. Not a total
Yes.
surprise, right? I mean, I've expected him to kind of to go national, to go to a elite track program, and not all of his schools make sense from a track perspective, but I do think that will be a massive part in his recruitment. I wrote a story today about Anthony Evans. I think he's going to be maybe kind of a Rodney Gallagher next target, I guess, at that Rodney Gallagher position. Now of course Rodney's heading to West Virginia. We didn't even hit on the Rodney situation. We hit it on a bit last week, I guess. To
Right.
kind of prepare fans, I guess you would say. Of course, Mason Robinson committed to Northwestern back on Friday. I mean, to me, I didn't realize how important academics were to Mason Robinson. I think that was kind of the main takeaway I took from talking to people about that. That really swung him there, and I
Yeah.
wish Mason all the best. But yeah, I would say keep an eye on Anthony Evans. He seems to be popping up. The Kavion Keys I mentioned, he seems to be a late ad. I did confirm TJ Metcalf from Alabama last week for an official visit. TJ, I don't have him quite as high as like a Cam Seldon, a King Mack, a Dakari Nelson, but also Seldon and Nelson are big enough that they could grow into linebackers. So, maybe Metcalf's kind of like a backup option if they don't get King Mack in June, which I think they will. But A lot of additions last week, a couple subtractions, like I said, and that's kind of how it'll play out from here on out, man. They can't get much more beyond 48 official visits. I think they're playing with fire if they do that going into the season.
All right. Well, that has been another edition of the BWI Daily Recruiting Show for Ryan Snyder and Thomas Frank Carr. I'm Greg Pickel. We will be back tomorrow on the BWI Daily Show, and we'll catch you next week on the BWI Daily Recruiting Show.